Good morning, all you nerdy ass bitches.
Hi.
How's it going out there? This morning, my lovely wife and I are enjoying our caffeine. My wife's sipping on a London Fog while I sit here drinking a ghetto chai latte with vanilla creamer because I can't drink normal coffee, apparently.
Well, to be fair, we can't always handle coffee.
Yeah, no, but even then, like, even when I order coffee, I order, like, the 8 shots of espresso, extra energy pump. Basically, I might as well...
It's not even about coffee, it's about the caffeine.
It is. There's a comic floating around that's like, Jesus, just do cocaine already.
I saw that. I'm the one who sent it to you.
I know, and I feel so attacked by that. But today's brew is brought to you by, not sponsored by, I wish we were sponsored. God, I would love for them to sponsor us. Rio Grande Coffee Co. They have some of the best blends ever, and I love them.
They're delicious.
Anyway.
You can only get them in one place here.
Oh, yeah, no. They're only carried by Sam's Club / Walmart, I believe.
Sam's Club. Just Sam's Club.
Oh, is it just Sam's Club?
It's just Sam's Club, because they only sell the big bags.
Right. To be fair, I'm usually very, very picky about my coffee, and I go to, like, I hate to say this, but I go to Whole Paycheck, I mean Whole Foods, when I can, because they have, like, the really, really, really good Japanese blends. Because Talon stopped carrying them.
Cries.
Anyway, today we're taking a trip down memory lane. We were flipping through Disney Plus, and saw this very familiar big red and yellow X, and went, wait a second.
Clicked on it. They're like, no, they didn't put this on there.
There's no way.
Gambit took a dive, by the way.
Again.
Me too, though.
And we started falling down the rabbit hole of X-Men the Animated Series once more.
Not a bad thing, though. We restarted it. We restarted it.
Mm-hmm. And so, quick fun story before we go into plot and everything. Locally, we have a convention here called New Mexico Comic Expo.
It's brand new.
Last year was their inaugural year, and it was huge. They had people from Farscape. They had, Jason Momoa. They had
Firefly.
They had freaking Obi-Wan Kenobi from the Clone Wars series. I wanted to cry. But anyway,
this is Master Obi-Wan Kenobi.
There was a huge deal for me and my wife because we were both huge Marvel fans. They had not only the voice actors for Rogue, Gambit, Wolverine, and Beast, but they also had the actual showrunners for X-Men the Animated Series.
If you guys are watching this, we love you!
And the first 2 days my wife went, we ended up talking to them both days because they're absolutely amazing people. And the first day we actually met them, we ended up sitting there like at our friend's artist booth who was right across the way going, we're going to go talk to him. Now.
Okay, now. For me, it was Gambit and Rogue.
Yeah, but...
Because I was like, oh my god, they're right there.
And we figured, okay, we'll start with the showrunners and go from there, because then we can build up to it. We ended up staring at them for like 20 minutes going, oh god, can we actually talk to them? They wrote our childhood. And so we finally went over and talked to them, and they're actually really nice people. I think the reason we were so intimidated was that they literally created most of our childhood. If you didn't dress up as one of the X-Men at some point in your life in the late 90s, early 2000s, then were you even living?
Were you?
But, so we talked to them and we actually told them that we had planned to start a podcast talking about nerdy stuff.
This was almost a year ago to the day.
Yeah, no, I mean, last month would have been Comic Expo.
Mm-hmm.
And we were so heartbroken we didn't get to do it sooner, but they told us, hey, when you guys do decide to do it, let us know. And we'll try and help you out. So, episode 3, here we are, and we're finally doing the podcast we promised. Anyway, so X-Men.
X-Men.
Fun fact, it was actually written as a... I'm trying to think of the word to explain it. A representation of the civil rights movements. I usually don't like getting political, but with X-Men it's kind of impossible.
Yeah.
It was written as basically an homage to equality for everybody.
Mm.
And
both of us being on the spectrum.
Yeah, with us being on the LGBT spectrum, I will fully admit, being trans and pansexual, it's a little difficult right now, especially with a lot of people not exactly recognizing trans folks for who they are.
Mm-hmm. It's one of the reasons why I've actually... And the same thing with anyone who's, like, under that umbrella, because I'm non-binary.
Mm-hmm.
And...
basically, if you're not, under one of the main categories that's easy for people to just group you into, then it's a little difficult. But with X-Men, they did that. They turned around and they were like, hey, we should do a show showing this awesome comic book that we all love, but do it in a way that kids will grow up with, have these awesome role models. Save for a couple of people, but we'll get into that.
We have our...
biases.
We're very biased when it comes to X-Men. I will fully admit that.
Anyway, so with X-Men, it was originally created to be a way to show that, hey, everybody's equal. We just need to get along.
And I'm going to add to that real fast.
Mm-hmm.
I had the words. Give me a second. I literally just woke up. Give me a minute.
Yeah, I'm the one that wakes up and makes the coffee and gets everything set up. No offense, honey.
None taken, but with that, I'm going to talk about Professor X Magneto.
We'll get into that into detail, though.
In a minute, yeah.
But so
perfect examples of the ideologies.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, we're going to be getting into the ideologies behind X-Men today, as well as a lot of stuff. Like, we have a lot of ground to cover. But, like, with the animated series, it was originally released in the 90s.
On Disney Channel, I believe?
It was actually on Fox.
Fox? Okay.
Fox Kids, when that was still a thing.
Oh, God. I'm not old.
I can do one better, honey. 4 kids.
We don't talk about 4 kids.
Yeah, you're right. Anyway, so it was originally part of the Saturday lineup. I remember very specifically, it was always Transformers Beast Wars, X-Men the Animated Series, Digimon, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, and then would end off with a rerun of, like, Sonic or something.
This I remember.
And I always got super excited. I actually had... Do you remember the really, really bad-looking X-Men plushies they released when they first released the series? I had the Beast that looked like it was just a chunk of blue faux fur sewn together.
I need to look this up real fast.
I wish I still had it because, honestly, I freaking loved that plushie, but as most things from the 90s went, it didn't last very long. And I would always sit there in front of the TV, and as soon as
Which one?
Let me see. I had the one that looked like a monkey that's seen some shit. Anyway, I would sit down and I'd hear that theme song. I would grab my bowl of cereal. I would jump over the couch and I would slide into home base. I had it mapped out perfectly. Where as soon as I woke up, I had time to make breakfast for my siblings, pour the milk in the cereal because your cereal goes first. I'm sorry if you do it the other way around. You're Satan or something. I don't know. And then I would have just enough time to put the milk away, put the cereal away, and book it to home base, slide at an exact trajectory where I landed exactly 2.5 feet away from the TV. And my teacher said I couldn't do math or anything like that. When it came to Saturday morning cartoons, there was a fucking science to it.
Yo, you take Saturday morning cartoons seriously.
And then there was also the Friday morning cartoons, but that would be another day. Darkwing Duck.
Right before school.
Yep. Every day, like clockwork. So, everybody had their favorite X-Men. There was always the debates in school of...
Who's the best?
There's no way Gambit could beat, Juggernaut if he wanted to. He just doesn't want to. And, Cyclops is totally the leader. He's a jackass.
Yeah, kinda. High-key. Yes, very much.
And it just... X-Men sparked an entire generation.
Really did.
So let's go into some of our favorite characters here. Starting with the founder of the School for Extraordinary Students, Professor Charles Xavier, or as his X-Men name is, Professor X. He is the ideal pacifist. Do no harm, but also defend yourself. Only hurt somebody if you're in danger.
Mm-hmm. I mean, not a bad ideology, just saying.
Mm-hmm. Do not... Cast not the first stone. I think that's how that goes, right?
Basically. But basically... also eye for an eye. At the same time. But only if they deserve it.
Yeah, no. The only time he allowed people to... His people, rather, to harm others... It was usually a case of, oh, you're about to die. Or, oh no, the Sentinels are here. You have to get out of there. Just be careful. And, like, with Charles, he was an idealist. he had this idea to take in these kids who maybe were kicked out of their home because they were mutants, or their parents understood but they didn't know how to help their children.
Mm-hmm.
Or in some cases, they were runaways because their parents tried to turn them into the Mutant Registration Act. Either way, there was a place for them that they could call home, and Charles wanted the school, which was actually his childhood mansion, to be that safe zone for these kids. Ignore the thumping you hear in the background. Our kittens are trying to break in. But yeah, he and his childhood friend, it depends on which version you go by, because Magneto has like 3 different names. In the animated series, I believe his name was Magnus.
I don't remember. It's been a long time.
I had notes, but the problem is that your daughter spilled my freaking my cocktail on him last night.
Mm-hmm.
So Magneto was the other end of the spectrum. His actual name was Eric Lensher.
That's right.
But his nickname was Magnus. Fun fact, people tend to forget that, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, and Polaris are his kids. But, what do we know?
Nothing, clearly.
And the interesting thing with Magneto was he and Charles grew up around the same time frame. They both survived a really harsh time. They both had that really, really dark portion of their history.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the perfect example of how you can come out of it with a different mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Charles became the pacifist. Magneto, aka Eric, aka Magnus, aka I have all the aliases because screw you, had the ideal of, if they're gonna fight us, then we're gonna throw down too. They threw the first rock, we're gonna throw a tank at them. Literally, in the very first episode he's introduced, he throws tanks.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is that with Magneto, his name pretty much gives away his mutation. Mm-hmm. His power is magnetism. Whoa. Rawr. I don't know the sound effect for magnetism.
I don't either. It's something.
And when he and Charles went their separate ways, he discovered how to protect his brain from Charles's mind-reading abilities, because Charles is one of the most powerful psychics on the planet. The only one that I believe can outdo him is Emma Frost. And that's because she can actually turn into Diamond and block him out. But he had a special helmet created. And it's the same type of helmet the Juggernaut wears.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Juggernaut doesn't want Xavier in his head, for obvious reasons. Because I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
We need to rewatch that.
We do. So yeah, those were the 2 leaders of each faction, if you will.
Episode.
There was actually no Deadpool episode in the animated series.
No, I mean our Deadpool.
Oh, yeah, no, when we talk Deadpool, it's gonna be we're gonna throw down. So, we had these 2 leaders of these factions. Xavier being there's always a peaceful option, and Magneto being like, no, we have to throw down. Well, they each had their teammates. And let's be honest, the X-Men, save for 2 characters, were pretty badass.
Mm-hmm.
And mind you, this is our opinion, folks. This is how we think of things. Our word is not law. I am telling you that now. If you wish to chew us out for it, so be it. But this is our personal opinions. Anyway, so we come to one of my favorite characters. Also, when I met the voice actor, Cathal, he was amazing and threatened to stab me if I ever screwed it up with my, at the time, girlfriend. Wolverine, aka Logan.
My boy. I'm sorry, I just love all of them.
Except for Jean and Scott.
Yeah, except for Jean and Scott.
If it says anything, I like Quicksilver more than I like Scott. And that says a lot. But Wolverine was a soldier... excuse me. Wolverine's a soldier who already had this awesome healing factor. And they were like, hey, so we have this metal. It comes from it comes from this place. We found it in a meteor. It's not in Wakanda. That's vibranium. That's a whole other thing. But if you want, we can coat your skeleton in this. And you can become indestructible. And at the time, he was like, you know what? Fuck it. I've got nothing to lose. Turns out, some shit really went sideways with that. and he kind of forgot a lot of his life, like almost all of it. I believe it's actually in the X-Men movie, the live action they did with Hugh Jackman.
Mm-hmm.
He makes the comment of, "Are we going to dress up in yellow spandex?" as a direct homage to the original Wolverine. And you can see the look on Hugh Jackman's face. He's trying not to laugh when he says it. Anything you want to add on Wolverine, honey?
Not much that I can think of.
My wife is still waking up. Don't be surprised if I do most of the talking for a little bit.
Especially since it's been a while since I've actually caught up.
Our rewatch only has us in season 2, but a lot of this I remember by heart.
You are a few years older than me.
Only a few.
Only a few.
And then there's everybody's golden child, Mr. Goody Goody Two Shoes, Mr. I'm the leader.
Denied.
Cyclops, aka Scott Summers.
Denied.
I'm sorry, even as a child, I hated him. He reminded me of every high school jock, every middle school jock, hell, every jock I went to school with since, like, kindergarten, that would kick the crap out of me and make my life a living hell. Like, they all played the Scott Summers part. Of the, oh, I'm the perfect student on the outside, also, if you don't listen to me, I'm gonna make your life a fucking nightmare. We all know a kid like that. Not to say that Norm Spencer didn't do a phenomenal job as Cyclops.
Oh no, for sure, he did.
The actor did a great job bringing the character to life. But I actually cannot stand him.
Neither can I.
Oh my god, I just realized something.
What?
He reminds me a lot of my ex-boyfriend.
That explains a lot.
It does. God, I apparently had a type for the longest time. And then there was his how do I put this? His main chick, like...
His wife.
Oh, that's right, they were actually married. I actually forgot that was a thing. But, yeah, Jean Grey, also Jean Summers, also known as the Phoenix. Which, by the way, the Dark Phoenix arc was super awesome, but why did Cyclops have to ruin it? And Jean was right up there with Xavier on the level of psychic. And as much as her mutation and her abilities were amazing, she was too much of a yes man for me, I think.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't really have an opinion of her own.
She either went along with what Scott had to say, or with what the professor had to say.
Yeah, she really didn't have an opinion, which, I'm sorry, you could literally have just given Cerebro a voice to have that exact same character. She was extremely one-dimensional. She didn't even really have any depth.
There was, like, maybe that one time where, like, the two were separated that they may have.
For, like, 2 seconds?
More like an episode.
Yeah, you're right.
It was like an episode. That I was like... Again, I do a lot of character analysis, and neither of them even had anything, like, happen to them, really.
No, I mean... Yes, Scott had a semi-tragic childhood, like, his brother Havoc and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But with Jean, like, she's probably the most normal out of all the X-Men. She could have just gone on living her life, and it would have been fine. Like, we would have still had the X-Men series. I feel like we could have had it without Jean and Scott.
Yeah. Especially with the others, because the others are so much more troubled.
Speaking of troubled... Moving on to one of my wife's favorite characters, the Queen of Wakanda. Yes, she is actually married to T'Challa. It is canon in the comics.
Storm!
Also known as Aurora Monroe.
Storm.
My wife has a thing for Storm, if you couldn't tell.
Who doesn't?
You'd be surprised how many people actually don't like her. There's actually a good chunk of the X-Men fandom who don't think she's essential to the series.
How dare you?
But with Storm...
Disrespect my queen like that.
Tell me how you really feel, honey.
I will.
I mean, that's kind of why we started doing this. Anyway, so with Storm, her mutation literally made her a god. She could control any form of weather. Anything from a slight wind to, oh, you're gonna piss me off? Here's an entire fucking tsunami on your little tiny village. But there's no ocean.
Die, bitch.
But there's no ocean nearby. Have a fucking tsunami. And there's a reason T'Challa in the comics is like, you have my permission, but you have to ask my wife, dude. Storm is a goddamn queen, and she will destroy you. Hell, she roasted quite a few people with these amazing one-liners in the series. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there's a few times rewatching it, it's just like, how did I not notice that as a kid?
There's a reason we probably turned out the way we did.
What do you mean, probably?
Yeah, you're right.
But Storm was super awesome, and the way she was written was... Like, a lot of people didn't like her in the animated series because they didn't feel that it followed the comics well enough. I loved how she was written in the series because they actually brought in T'Challa, and she's accepting offerings, and he's like, my queen, are you okay? No, I am not okay, I'm being possessed, but I can't tell you that because psychics are weird. That's a whole other arc that we're going to go into at a later time, because that's a whole discussion onto itself.
We need to rewatch it, first of all.
Well, it's not even that. It's that particular arc, like, there's so much detail in that arc that you really can't cover it in just a single episode where we're talking about other stuff, too.
Yeah, no.
Like, the entire arc involving Wakanda and Storm's backstory is going to be a whole episode onto its own. And now we come to my wife's favorite boy, the Ragin' Cajun, Gambit.
My Ragin' Cajun!
Gambit is something else. He started off with the Thieves Guild, where he actually earned the nickname Gambit. His real name is Remy LeBeau.
My boy.
My wife has actually said she would leave me for him given the chance.
To be fair, do you blame me?
So, fun fact, the second voice actor for him, because the first voice actor ended up retiring due to health problems. The second voice actor was also at Comic Expo last year, and he was one of the ones who also threatened my life if I ever upset and or hurt my wife.
He actually offered to sweep me off my feet.
He basically said in the Gambit voice, which almost killed me because I'm just like, oh god.
You had to catch me.
Yeah, my wife actually almost fainted. It was beautiful. In the full-on Remy voice was like, don't worry, Shay, your boy here ever screwed up, Gambit show you a real good time.
I was just like, yes, please.
And I just kind of collapsed on the floor like, and this is where I die. Kill me now.
I was just like, yes, please.
But Tony Daniels is a really great guy. We ended up just sitting there talking for like a good 20 minutes with him, and he is such a sweetheart to his fans. And it didn't help that the last day of con, when my wife had to stay home, I was already dressed as Gambit.
Because I don't have my full rogue together yet.
Yeah, but we could have still done your formal rogue that you wanted to do.
Yeah, but it was also Levi's birthday.
But, anyway, so he saw me dressed as Gambit, and he was like, oh, what, you gonna try it out, duo Gambit now? We ended up having a Cajun off, which he beat me, because let's face it, I cannot beat the Ragin' Cajun.
No, you cannot.
I tried.
You tried, but you can't.
I believe my friend sent you video, didn't he? Oh no, Tony told you about it.
And I'm sorry, I actually believe what Tony has to say.
Well, yeah, I love Uncle Tony, but have you met the man?
Yeah, like, with him though, like, I'd be like more surprised if he didn't tell me something.
Yeah, no, like he didn't tell you about the engagement ring and everything. He knew.
That's something else though.
Yeah, I know. Anyway,
everybody knew, to be fair, except for me.
And like 2 other people.
Yeah.
But with Gambit, he came from this very, very different world. Unlike the other X-Men, he didn't grow up, having a childhood or anything. As a kid, he was literally thrown headfirst into the Thieves Guild. He's actually the son of the King of Thieves.
Yeah, I know.
And he was actually supposed to marry off some chick. I do not remember her name to save my life.
I remember her, but I don't remember her name.
All I remember is as a kid, I wanted to punch her in the face. Because how dare you touch Rogue's man, you bitch.
Yeah. The high key, that was Rogue that entire arc.
Oh no, she fucking laid her out and it was glorious.
I was just like, wow, no wonder. No wonder I turned out the way I did.
Yeah. But all is well, he ends up with Rogue, even though they didn't get married in the series.
Not in the series, but in the comics they did.
Oh yeah, no, there was an entire special on it in the, I want to say the late 2000s, mid to late 2000s. They did an entire special that was just the Gambit and Rogue wedding.
It was so sweet.
I wish I still had my copy.
If I ever find it, I will snag it.
Yeah, no, we're gonna have to go comic book shopping soon here because I miss my comics.
Same.
Anyway, by the way, folks, my birthday's coming up. If you want to send me money for comics, I will totally use it for comics.
We actually will, too.
Yeah, Barnes & Noble has the X-Men compendium right now. But it's like $90.
Ugh.
Anyway, so...
My Crit Roll compendium wasn't even that much.
No, but this is also 30 years of comics.
That's true.
So with Gambit, he becomes the not chaotic good, more of the chaotic neutral voice of, yes, I hear that that's a bad idea, but what if? I think he actually says something along the lines of, it's only a bad idea if you get caught. Or something similar to that. Are you having fun playing with your bobblehead?
Yes.
My wife is sitting here looking at me with the biggest grin on her face as she plays with the Gambit bobblehead.
We also have Rogue.
We do have Rogue, but she's staying up there.
She's staying up there, yep.
Anyway, so he was very much the, I'm going to stir the pot because I'm bored. Oh, hey, look, we've adopted a child. Hi, Jubilee. Let me show you all the things that you should never do and show you how to not get caught doing it.
Yep.
That was Gambit. His whole thing was if you don't get caught.
He was the chaotic big brother.
He was the big brother that I tried not to be for my siblings.
But at the same time.
But Gambit influenced a lot of my lifestyle, so let's face it, I pretty much was that, just don't get busted. Like, you've seen me around my brother.
It's like, if you gotta do it, here's how to do it to not get caught.
I love you, Dad, if you're listening to this. I promise I did not tell Tristan to do any of those things.
Of course. You know, thinking about it, Gilbert reminds me a lot of Gambit.
A little bit, yeah.
You never met him as a teenager.
No, but the stories I've heard.
Yeah, the stories, like, a lot of those are accurate, and I'm just like, yeah, my brother was kind of like Gambit.
I was drinking whole bottles of Malibu by the time I was 16.
I'm gonna go see what my husband is doing. My mom looked like she was ready to kill my brother.
To be fair.
I love my brother. I kinda want him alive.
So, now we move on to Anna Marie, aka Rogue. So...
My other queen.
We had been introduced to all these characters that have powers that, like, oh, I can throw stuff and they explode. I have metal claws. I can, hurt you with my brain.
I'm lighting you on fire with my brain. Let's be real.
Yeah. And then, obviously, there's the goddess, Storm, who can control the weather. And then there's Rogue, who, she already had super strength and she could fly. Mm-hmm. But she brought a mutation that everybody was just like, wait, what? Because if she touched you, if you weren't a mutant, she steals your life force. Literally, it's a case of, I will literally slap you out of existence. Thanos, come at me. And then,
oh god, there's an arc I want to see.
I would love to see that throwdown, because let's face it, she would put Thanos in the fucking ground. Anyway.
Even worse than Thor.
Bitch, Thor wishes. Thor fucking wishes he could hold up to Rogue. If I remember right...
I feel like Thor would just be like, I am not worthy.
I am no longer worthy to wield Mjolnir or Stormbreaker. Here, take them. I'm gonna go cry into my beer now.
That's a mood, though, me too.
The Thor abides.
Oh god.
Props to you, I'll get that reference.
You know what sounds good now? Kieran.
Don't tempt me.
Oh, sounds so good. We have no money.
I know. Anyway. So, with Rogue, she had the ability to sap life force. Well, thing is, with mutants... Yeah, there was an entire episode where she accidentally touched Cyclops without her gloves on. And she exploded a power plant because she didn't know how to control the laser eyes. Literally, she would touch somebody if they were a mutant, and suddenly your power's mine.
But at the same time, shit!
Also, I'm pretty sure the song Mississippi Queen was written about her.
I am about 300% sure that is true.
And, like, the entire first season, because mind you, the first season, like, it escalates like that. It starts off with, oh, here's Jubilee, here's Rogue and Storm saving the day. Brief mention of, Genosha and all this, and then we're going to jump into Days of Future Past, and that's just season 1. But the entire first couple seasons...
They just threw us headfirst into Days of Future Past.
They did, and that arc hurt if you read the comics and you know what actually happened before they toned it down a bit. Like, that arc destroyed many an X-Men fan.
Me included.
But
we're not talking about
the entire first season, I want to say the first 2-3 seasons, was just Gambit like, hey, how you doing? And Rogue being like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that's actually how it went. Remember, he jumps in her car. Yeet!
Oh yeah, no, there's actually an episode where he jumps in her car and
twice!
Oh, that's right, it was twice in the same episode.
Like, no, twice in the same, 3 minutes.
Yeah. Like, the first time she's super pissed off because turns out, the cure for mutant is a fake, and on top of that, I'm a mutant, I'm gonna be happy. And when she first goes to leave to find this guy, Gambit's just like, oh no, not today, bitch. Jumps in her car, pushes him out. 3 minutes later, she's driving down the road. He jumps out of a fucking tree into the car and is like, slide into your DMs, be like. And she throws him into the tree above them, just like, nah, bitch, get out.
I forgot about that, and I died.
And the fun thing with Rogue especially is that she's the prime example of what can go wrong when you find out your kid's a mutant. Because she almost killed her boyfriend. Mm-hmm. They were getting it on, they were getting all hot and heavy, and all of a sudden, he's dead. Mostly.
Almost.
To quote Miracle Max, he's only mostly dead.
Yeah!
And so she ran away from home. Her and Wolverine actually have some backstory. She ended up hitchhiking with him for a while, and they went their separate ways, and then, surprise, they both end up at Xavier's mansion.
It's like, oh, hey, what's up?
What the fuck you doing here? Fight me. No, thanks.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's their entire relationship, and you can't tell me otherwise.
They're like the siblings that, acknowledge each other but don't want to be there.
Yeah, no, they're the siblings that are just like, nah, fam.
Yeah.
And the cool thing with Rogue is that she understands that she could, in fact, obliterate everything. She could.
Really wanted to.
If she wanted to, she could take over the world. But all she wants is some goddamn peace and quiet. And the fun thing with Rogue 2 is that, Jubilee being the angsty teenager, we'll get to Jubilee in a second, is like, you don't understand, and she's like, okay, honey, sit the fuck down, we gonna have a talk.
Oh, you sweet summer child.
I think she's just like, oh, you sweet child. Not you sweet summer child, but she's like, oh, sweet child, sit down.
Oh, and,
anybody who knows how to speak Southern is just like, honey, you done fucked up.
Yep. Just... oof.
Rogue is a level of done that I wish I could achieve.
I have achieved it.
I know you have, and it scared me. I love you.
I love you too. I will destroy your goddamn bloodline.
Anyway, so now we move on to another fan favorite, and he was actually my very first X-Men crush. I will fully admit, I didn't fall for Gambit first. I didn't fall for Wolverine first. My first X-Men crush was Beast, which actually explains why I'm a furry.
Same.
Anyway,
I do love Beast, though.
Beast is amazing, and we'll actually get in one of his episodes that I actually got to talk to the creators about later on. But Dr. Henry McCoy, also known as Hank, his mutation was he's hyper fucking intelligent, and he looks like a blue Muppet on steroids. But
yeah.
I love him.
Yeah, pretty much.
But because he's literally a blue furry beast, he has the super strength, he has the agility, he fucking mixes chemicals while hanging off the ceiling because he's just like, I need to look at this from a new angle. Flips upside down. Oh, that's the problem. I need to fix that. He takes looking at it from a new angle too literally, and I love it.
I was always attracted to Beast too, to be honest. It's his intelligence that I was attracted to.
Yeah, no, it was never a matter of, oh, he's attractive, which in hindsight he actually kind of is.
He is.
But for me it was always a case of, I could actually sit down and talk science with you and not be shunned for it.
Yeah.
That was my big thing, because, growing up, I was very much I can't talk science because I'll get beat up for it. Mm-hmm. And I did. A lot.
So many years of running from the chemistry lab to the bus hoping that I beat the bullies there.
Honestly,
We came from another thing of saying came from two different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, no. So, real quick, before we go on further with characters, one of the reasons that Luna and I actually love X-Men is that, I'm trying to think of the way to phrase it. Life mirrors fantasy, almost.
Mm-hmm.
My wife grew up in a very nice neighborhood, grew up with very positive experiences in school and stuff.
For the most part, at least.
For the most part.
My family was always very supportive.
Whereas I grew up in the equivalent of, like, say, the Rogue household, where my family wasn't the greatest. You know, I was constantly getting picked on at school. I was put in the nurse's office multiple times just for being different. So, like, for us, that one of the things we actually bonded over was X-Men, because it was very much that, oh, hey, it's kind of like this and this. And then we realized, oh, shit, we're two nerdy fucks. Fuck!
Yep. But at the same time, we came from two different ends, and I'm going to make a quick comparison.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Professor X and Magneto with their different perspectives.
It really is.
It's two sides of the same coin, but very different ends.
Yeah, because all it takes is crossing the railroad tracks, and it's a completely different life.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, moving on from the feelsy, make me want to cry stuff.
Yeah. We need to talk about Jubilee.
We do need to talk about Jubilee. Also known as... Her actual legal name is Jubilation Lee.
I love her, though. Okay.
And
as a kid, I didn't really like Jubilee.
I didn't either, but... Again, for me, it was probably just because she reminded me too much of the people that I didn't like in high school.
Yeah, but, then, now rewatching it and doing a little research, she was, like, 14.
She was, like, 14, 15 during X-Men the Animated Series.
She was a baby.
By the end of it, I think she was 16.
She was a child.
She was either 16 or 17 by the end of Animated Series.
Yeah, which, now, as an adult, I'm like, oh, honey.
As a kid, you're just like, you have superpowers. Stop complaining.
Yeah, but then seeing, like, as an adult now, I'm just like, she was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't ask for any of it, and then she basically got thrown in head first. A lot of her reactions, like me rewatching it,
mm-hmm.
is really normal of a kid that age.
It is, but again, when you're a kid watching this, you're just like, you're a superhero kid. Anybody would kill to have your powers. I'll take them if you don't want them.
Yeah.
But as an adult, you're just like, wow, how the fuck is this kid not needing severe psychiatric help?
What do you mean she's not?
Yeah, you're right.
But she wasn't Jubilee, like, shunned by her family as well?
That one's a complicated story. So with
that
Jubilee...
one I don't remember.
What's funny is the first 3 episodes actually go into how Jubilee joined the X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
And the very first episode, you actually see her adopted parents. She is adopted.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know who her blood family is. They don't know her parents. Some people say they died in an accident. Others say they gave her up. It just depends on which timeline you read or watch, because there's a ton of timelines.
There are.
How many times have they retconned it?
Too many. They're like, oh shit, we need to retcon this.
Or, hey, I have this idea for a storyline. Great, let's make another universe.
There's one thing I have to say. The island.
We're getting to that in a minute here. Anyway, so with Jubilee, the very first episode, her parents are downstairs arguing about what are they supposed to do. Because she went to go rewind a VHS tape. If you kids don't know what a VHS tape is, you're not old enough to be on the stream.
You really aren't.
I miss those days. It was so simple. Anyway, she went to rewind a VHS.
I just saw the existential dread in your face.
I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, so we open up the episode. She fries the VHS player accidentally because she went to hit rewind, and during your teenage years is most likely when your mutant powers show up.
Mm-hmm.
They can show up later in life, but it's rare.
Later or earlier, it really depends.
They actually mentioned that the biggest trigger for mutant powers is either hormonal-induced stress burst, basically, or another situation that is extremely stressful that causes a spike in adrenaline and other hormones. Which is why Rogue accidentally almost killed her boyfriend, is because, oh shit's getting hot and heavy, and her body's like, hey, by the way, have some powers.
Yep.
But with Jubilee's case, they were getting ready to tell her that she was adopted. And apparently her dad had brought it up within earshot, when she hit the rewind button, and that's what caused the VCR to explode.
Right. It's been a while since I watched the first episode.
And it starts off with, well, we'll call this mutant registration people. They should be able to help her out. You know, they can get her the help that she needs. Only come to find out that Stryker is the biggest dickbag in the universe.
Yeah.
But it was also our first introduction, in at least any of the cartoons, to the Sentinels. Yeah. And the interesting thing with Jubilee is that instead of, lashing out at her parents, she just up and leaves. She goes to the mall to go to the arcade. And yes, that was a thing back in the day. We had arcades in the mall.
Oh, God, I miss it.
And she's sitting there doing her thing. She gets stressed out because she's losing her game and, explodes the machine. And honestly, one of her best lines, in my opinion, is when he's like, do you know how much that machine cost? Yeah, $0.25. Flips $0.25 and walks away sipping on her soda. As a kid, I thought, oh, she's so cool. As an adult, I'm just like, you little shit.
At the same time, though, that was probably one of her best moments.
It really was, because after that, she became very much the damsel.
Because she didn't know how to not do anything.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it was a bad thing, but,
again,
she played the badass to hide the fact that she didn't know what she was doing.
Again, going back to the fact of she is a child.
Yeah, no, she's very much a child.
The thing with that is, she's again, she was only 14, 15. She was going through a lot, mentally, physically, as a normal kid.
Yeah, no, because becoming a teenager is never easy.
No.
Anybody who says their teenage years were easy were either on something or lying through their teeth.
Or perfect, and I don't trust any of that.
No, nobody was perfect as a teenager. Nobody.
That's what I mean. That's why I said.
I'm saying, the people who say they're perfect as a teenager, it's you're either on something or you're lying through your fucking teeth. So, she's going through the mall, and all of a sudden, giant robots, and people are flying, and there's a guy buying cards and throwing them, and they're exploding, and what is my life? And the fun thing with her is she almost gets snatched up. I believe Rogue and...
It was Rogue and Storm.
Yep, Rogue and Storm come in, swoop in, save the day, take her to the mansion. She freaks out because suddenly there's mutants everywhere. There's a danger room. I almost got exploded. There's a crazy guy in yellow spandex. And why is this guy's wheelchair floating? What is going on? What is my life?
Jubilee was asking the real questions.
And she ended up actually booking it. She just flat out said, fuck this shit, I'm out. Tries to go back to her parents. The problem is that because her parents called Stryker and the mutant registration program, the Sentinels were waiting for her, basically. And, she gets snatched up. Shit goes sideways. She gets saved again. And decides, you know what, maybe I should live at this school where they said that I'm actually safe. Because, surprise, maybe the adults know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But Jubilee is honestly one of my favorite characters. As a kid, I didn't like her very much because, again, I was just like, you weirdo, you have superpowers. How is that not cool? And now as an adult, I'm just like, you know what? I would have probably lost my shit worse than you did, and I give you mad respect.
Yeah, she acted better than accordingly, but at the same time, again, when I'm looking at it, she was, and I will say this again, and I will keep saying it, she was a child.
She was.
She was actually she actually gave us the view of what happens when you actually start it.
Yeah, no, all the other X-Men, all these mutants and everything, they were very much, they had already gone past that phase and were at the point of acceptance and trying to make things work. Jubilee was a high schooler who was thrown into chaos and expected to accept it.
Yep.
And then Charles stepped up and he was like, listen, we're not expecting you to, know what to do, but we're here to help. Everybody else was like, but you don't know how to use your powers? I've had them for 3 days, but you know how to use them? Scott. Scott Summers was very much you're going to learn to do this now, or,
It's like, oh, you don't know how to use them? Then perish.
Pretty much. He basically throws you in head first, and you have to hope for the best.
Ghibli has massive psychological issues now because of Scott. I am very much sure of that.
Scott's the main reason for a lot of the bullshit, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But that covers the main cast. And then there is Magneto and all of his lackeys, but he has so many that we might have to do a part 2 for this.
We might.
Right now we'll just focus on covering the Xavier side of everything, and then in a part 2 later on down the road we'll cover the other side of the spectrum. But the fun thing about the animated series, and I still love the series, don't get me wrong, it is amazing, it is very well written. It moved really fast. In the first season alone, they covered Jubilee's Awakening, Genosha, Days of Future Past. Like, that was just the first season. Mm-hmm. Like, they brought in Apocalypse, which I love Apocalypse. He's one of my favorite villains. And
that was a fun sound.
That was the air conditioning being stupid again. Mm-hmm. Like, they brought in all this cool stuff in the very first season. And when season 1 ended, a lot of us kids were sitting there going, well, where do they go from here? There's nothing left. What can they do?
Little did we know as kids that there were the comics.
Yeah, no, as a kid, I knew about the Marvel comics, but I never actually realized the X-Men comic store thing, because the little tiny comic shop, when I lived out in the middle of nowhere, in this little tiny town of like 1,000 people, it was all stuff people already had that they traded in for, money. And I hate to say this, but I lived in a little tiny town called Moretti, which is, in fact, the meth capital of New Mexico. So most people traded in their comics for drug money. But
hey, it's worth good money, though.
Like, because I lived in a tiny town where they didn't get a whole lot of shipments because they couldn't afford it, I only had what was traded in. And we never got any X-Men. It was always the old Avengers, the old Superman, which I hated Superman. I don't know why my parents bought me Superman. Like, it was mostly DC comics with a few Marvel thrown in here and there. And then I got super lucky one day and found a Neil Gaiman Sandman comic, but that's a story for another stream. Like, I didn't know about the comics back then. And in hindsight, again, there was so much material that we didn't know about as kids.
Like, we either did not have access to, or just plain out didn't know about.
Yeah, and...
But to be fair, the X-Men comics were kind of dark.
They really were. Like, they flat out murdered people. They flat out killed like 6 of the main characters for one arc. And it was like an 8 comic arc. I cannot remember the name of it, but I think it was, I want to say it was the Marvel Zombie arc.
It may have been, I don't remember.
It's been a while. But, like, they brought in Cable, the offspring of Jean and Scott, who's a time traveler. They brought in Bishop, who is the love of my life. I love Bishop to death. I mean, actually thinking about it too, even the animated series was pretty dark. In the first couple episodes, you lose Morph.
Right.
Morph was my baby. Morph was my boy. And they were just like, oh, you like him? Die. Like, in the first 2 minutes that you meet him, I'm just like, oh my god, he's precious, he's funny, he's incinerated? Nani da fuck? And they actually showed a genuine reaction to that, too, with Wolverine. Because Wolverine was Morph's best friend. Hands down, that was his buddy. That was his ride or die. Mm-hmm. And Scott tells him that, there's no chance he's alive. Just give up. Don't go after him. You go after him, then I'm going to exclude you from the club. Turn in your members-only jacket. And Wolverine's like, fuck you, bub, and goes to go save his buddy.
I love Logan.
I do, too. He did not take any of Scott's shit, which I adore.
He called him out constantly.
Which,
so did Gambit.
Oh, yeah, no, and Scott hated that because they were questioning his leadership. And it's like, what leadership? You're literally saying, listen to me or perish. Mm-hmm. And if you guys like Scott, then I'm sorry. I hate him with a passion.
Same.
But, like, there was the whole sanctuary arc as well, where Magneto created this flying sanctuary for mutants. Like, he legit was just like, okay, we're gonna get the fuck out of here. Y'all don't want us here. It's pretty obvious. And that was definitely a different take on the arc, because they took a page out of the Inhumans. I think this is before Inhumans was written, I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But the Inhumans actually came from the moon. Like, when the Inhuman virus was released, they moved to the moon. X-Men's Sanctuary was right in the atmosphere above, like, it was, like, right in zero grav. So, like, I'm pretty sure Magneto and the Inhumans were probably sitting there having fucking, you know, keg parties on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
But, in general, there's so many arcs that are so intense that defined a generation. I mean, hell, there was the Beyond Good and Evil arc where they brought in Mr. Sinister. And let me tell you, that was a creepy-ass villain.
Mm-hmm.
He gave me nightmares as a kid, I will fully admit.
Yep.
And he's actually one of the, the only way I can explain this is he's one of the main Deadpool villains. Because his whole goal is to clone mutants. To make perfect mutants that will follow him and be his slaves. And honestly, as much as Magneto is a perfect anti-hero, because he's not a villain.
No.
He just is...
Again, opposite end of the same coin.
He wants the same thing Charles does, just not the same methods.
Yeah.
Stryker makes a fantastic villain because he shows as much as I hate to say that, a realistic human reaction to finding out that there's mutants among us. Because I can guarantee you, today, if people found out there were mutants, they would do the exact same thing. Only probably a little more drastically. Whereas Mr. Sinister was like, yeah, I'm gonna borrow your powers and yours, and I'm gonna throw in some of this too, and here's the perfect mutant. That one's dead, okay, I'm gonna make another one. Literally, he made cookie cutters of mutants so that he could clone them and have all these amazing, basically, like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, cannon fodder, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Until he found the perfect combination to make his mutant slaves.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the Dark Phoenix saga.
Ugh.
I do not like Jean. I never have. I never will. But I will fully admit, the Dark Phoenix saga was fucking beautifully written.
Oh yeah, no, it was really well done.
It was incredible. Like, the whole, oh, Jean's dead, and suddenly she's not dead? Question mark?
Honey?
You know, it definitely, it introduced a different concept to kids.
Jean's dead, get over yourself, Scott.
Yeah,
That was
it's
pretty much
not
the whole
Jean.
arc, that was it.
It's not Jean anymore, but it looks like Jean. Did I just fucking stutter?
Did I stutter?
Like, because it was, but it wasn't Jean. With the Phoenix ability...
It was physically.
Physically, it was Jean. Mentally, it was, honestly, just the equivalent of a person with lifelong amnesia waking up and being like, what is life? And with the Dark Phoenix, like, I tried watching the movie. I will fully admit. I tried watching the live action. I didn't get that far into it before I was like, you know what, the cartoon did it better. I will fully admit that one.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the X-Men movie that doesn't exist. That empty spot where there's supposed to be a third movie.
What do you mean? It doesn't exist.
But one of my favorite actual episodes, because the arcs are awesome, but one of my favorite episodes actually centers on Hank McCoy. I believe it was called Beauty and the Beast. And quick fun fact about that episode. At Comic Expo, the day that my wife couldn't go, they were doing a Q&A panel on that particular episode. And, you know, Beauty and the Beast is one of those episodes that translates to many different situations. Because in the episode, Beast cures this woman of blindness, and they fall in love before the cure happens, before the surgery goes well, and he's fully expecting her to see him and not want anything to do with him ever again. Like, to realize he's a mutant, and that's that.
Mm-hmm.
Come to find out, when she opens her eyes, she's like, oh, I knew. Now get over here and give me a hug, you furry jerk.
I love that. That episode really, really struck a chord with me.
It did with me as well, because I actually got to talk to the creators, and the voice actor for Beast was going into detail about how he was actually crying in the booth when he was recording that episode. Because he voiced Beast from the very first episode. Beast was his boy. That was his favorite character out of all of them. And he fully admitted he's slightly biased, but partially because Beast was very much...
only slightly biased.
The way that he explained it was Beast was him in college. Because he was there for the Vietnam protests. He was one of the ones who was holding flowers out to the soldiers and everything. And to him, Beast was a way for today's generation to see what they did back then. Mm-hmm. He didn't break the law. He never broke out of jail. He never did anything violent unless it was in self-defense.
Yeah, that, adding to what you said, because, like, the episode with Colossus,
mm-hmm.
they're like, you want to get in on this jailbreak? No, come back when you can visit.
Oh yeah, no, when they're breaking Colossus out because, Juggernaut attacks the mansion in a bank, and Colossus gets blamed because he's a mutant who's from Russia, because this was at the time of the big commie scare. God, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. But anyway, it was the big commie scare. Everyone was afraid of the Russians and afraid of communists. And Pietrov came... Or sorry, it was Piotr. Peter? I don't know how to actually pronounce his name. Colossus. Because Pietrov was Quicksilver.
Yeah.
And Colossus came looking for work. He wanted to start a fresh life. He wanted to be able to send money back to his family, back to his siblings. He just wanted to make sure that they were comfortable. And because he was a mutant who had a job, everybody played the, you took our gerb. They took our gerbs. That's that entire fucking sketch from South Park.
Yep.
And they had no problem blaming this literal gentle giant. Like, they bust him out of jail because it's like, you don't understand. Once they decide you're guilty, that's it. You're never leaving. And, they look over at Beast and he's like, I still have to wait for my trial, but come back when visiting hours are open. So they fix the hole in the wall.
They were like, hey, you want to in on this? Nah,
good. Fam, I'm good.
He was just like, nah, I'm good.
They patch up the hole in the wall and they leave. Beast is the perfect example of, do what you can, but don't make it worse. And during the Q&A that I actually got to go talk to them at...
I wish I could have been there for that.
Yeah, but you had your nephew's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting about that was I actually got to ask them a couple of questions, because there wasn't a huge line. It was Sunday. It was the last day of con. Last day there's...
Gone already.
Most people had already left, blah, blah, blah. Mind you, this was like 99-degree weather. I was there in a full gambit getup, the armor, the black clothes, the long trench coat, the whole nine. And I'm sitting here dying, and I step up to the mic, and I'm just like, so, first of all, huge fan, blah, 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 the whole thing, of, I've been watching this since I was a kid, that every creator hears, but apparently never get tired of hearing it. And I actually got to bring up to them that episode struck a very personal chord with me, because at the time... when my wife and I were we started being friends first. Like, before we were ever dating, apparently it wasn't, I passed as a guy so well that most people didn't realize I was transgender. And I got to tell him that, when my wife realized I was trans, I was so afraid that, well, I'm sorry, at the time, girlfriend. When she realized I was trans, I thought she was going to cut me out of her life, that she was going to walk away, and that was that.
We were friends at that time.
At the time, we were friends, and I didn't want to lose that friendship, because... we bonded over some really awesome nerdy shit that we didn't realize the other knew, and we're like, wait, there's more people who know this? And, fast forward a couple of years later, we're dating, and now, as of, the 1st of August, we've been married for almost 2 months. But I got to have this very heartfelt moment where I actually asked them, did you guys think that this would stand the test of time, and did you think that the kids that watched it, out Saturday mornings with that bowl of cereal when they slid into home base... did you ever think that it would still hold relevant to today? And I had unintentionally gone into like a 10-minute life story, because I have a bad habit of rambling, as I'm sure all of you guys listening understand. My wife understands, trust me, I have so many fan theories I bounce off in the car, and by the time I'm done with it, she's like, wait, you're actually done?
Mm-hmm. I'll fully admit that I've done that.
Mm-hmm. And the show writers were actually, like, tearing up. They were actually crying. The guy who voices Beast, he's an absolute sweetheart.
Jump over the table.
It wasn't Beast, it was Wolverine. It was Cal. But Wolverine, you could hear his voice cracking when he was like, I didn't expect it to hold the test of time, but I'm so glad it has. Because I wanted it to make a statement, and it has. And so I started crying. My eyeliner was ruined. You can ask my wife. By the time I got home to get ready for the nephew's birthday party, I was a fucking mess. My makeup was all over the place. And Cal, the guy who plays Wolverine, actually jumped over the table, ran over, and gave me the biggest hug ever. And Gambit just walked over and clapped me on the back. He was like, I'm proud of you. You're the best man ever.
Honestly, like, I heard this story and I started crying.
And, like, the fun thing is, X-Men is one of those that will always stand the test of time. It's one that no matter how many times it gets revamped, it gets rewritten, it gets something. Something happens to it. No matter how many times it changes via retcons or anything, it will always stand the test of time. I mean, hell, it was originally written to mirror the civil rights movement. And, integration. Nowadays, it's a perfect example of, LGBT rights. Because it doesn't have to change to mean what it means.
It doesn't.
And the cool part about that is that they've actually confirmed there are LGBT characters in X-Men.
Colossus is gay.
He is. I don't remember who he ended up with. I think it was him and Polaris? ? Who ended up together?
I don't remember.
But they did confirm
Deadpool's pan.
Deadpool is pansexual. There's a couple of lesbian characters.
It was relevant before it was relevant.
It was, and
quote unquote. I hate saying it like that, but
the interesting thing about it is it's one of those that everybody everywhere can find some relation to. Like, it doesn't take much for people going through a hard time to find something in X-Men that they can relate to. Like, for me, honestly, the one I relate most to, and this might sound a little weird, is actually Nightcrawler. Who, I absolutely adore him.
I love Nightcrawler.
With him, it was a case of he came from a very, very dark background. He was in a circus where he was abused because, if you don't do these tricks, we're going to beat you and you're going to starve. And he found the X-Men and he found a family. And, like, for me, that's me with my wife's family and me with my family at the gay bar. Mm-hmm. I came from a very dark and unfortunate household. So when I met Nightcrawler, I was just like, wow, there's somebody like me, and he turned his life around. I want to do that when I grow up, and it took some work and a lot of heartbreak, but I did. Hi. I was waiting to see if you had anything to say.
No. I was letting you go. I was letting you be on your soapbox for a minute.
That was not intentional.
It's okay.
Okay, I was close. It was not Polaris. Peter English is a thing. I forgot his last name all of a sudden. Peter Rasputin.
Yeah.
It wasn't Polaris, it was North Star that's his boyfriend.
Right.
Because North Star got kidnapped. And the interesting thing with that was everybody was freaking out going, you can't make a gay X-Men, you can't do this, you can't do that. And they're like, we literally made this show about people who are discriminating. You're telling us that we can't put people in here who have been discriminated against? And the showrunners, I actually brought this up to them when I met them, and they were just like, yeah, no, had we had that arc, we would have totally put that in there. Because that came out years after the animated series ended. Mm-hmm. They wanted to, but at the same time,
the show was already over.
Well, not only that, but the late 90s, mid to late 90s was... We were starting to accept LGBT and stuff like that, but it was still very much a taboo subject. And even the comic writers of X-Men were very much, well, we're going to push that line and then we're going to break it. There's a Robin Williams bit where he's like, this is the line of death, you cross it, you die. Okay, you cross this line, you die. Okay, you cross this line, you die. Okay, you cross this line, I don't want to talk to you anymore. That's pretty much the world when it comes to X-Men. Mm-hmm. Because they touch on subjects nobody wants to.
And I have massive respect for that.
I wish I had their kind of I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. I wish I had their balls, let's be honest.
Yeah, we don't know. I don't know how to put it, but that's a good way to put it.
I wish I had half of their courage to write what they do. Like, it's already difficult for me to put certain stuff out there. But what X-Men what the writers of the show, of the comics, what the Marvel writers in general have done, they have broken out of that box, reformed it, and said, come at me.
They fortified that box.
They really did. And perfect time for a note from our sponsors. So, if you guys are like me, you love your graphic tees. You love your nerdy collectibles. The nerdier, the better.
Yee.
If you're looking for new, nerdy, wonderful shirts and awesome beadwork for, pendants, barrettes, headbands, head on over to MrWoo'sEquipableItems.com. I actually do a lot of his shirt designs. He is a phenomenal guy, and I have had so much fun working with him. He has an amazing selection of shirts. We just released a couple of new shirts. I have sent him a ton of designs that will be being released in the near future. He does these awesome Native American beadwork for, like, DBZ, Fruits Basket, Sailor Moon. If you'd really like just unique items in general, please be sure to check out MrWoo'sEquipableItems.com. I will go ahead and post that link in the chat. But he's an awesome guy. He is based out of New Mexico. He's a very dear friend of mine. And without him, we actually wouldn't have the means to do this show. And I know he's going to call me a sellout.
He did already.
Oh. To be fair, I'm looking at my notes, not the chat.
Yeah. I've been the one watching the chat.
But yeah, that's MrWoo'sEquipableItems.com. That link will be here in the chat momentarily. Get all your nerdy t-shirts. Get all of your nerdy merch. And be sure to go ahead and let him know what you have in mind as far as themes and stuff, because we are always listening for ideas for new shirt designs. Mr. Woo's Equipable Items, when you just need some nerdy stuff to wear.
You fucking sell out.
Hey, I get paid for this, okay?
You fucking sell out? Did I stutter?
Do you want to get paid or not?
I do want to get paid. I would love to get paid. Especially since, I was expecting money that didn't come in, so...
Yeah, no. There's our sellout for the day.
We're selling out.
And if you guys
are... It's only episode 3, we're already selling out.
Hey, he pays us to do it, though.
Yeah, he does.
We get shirts and we get,
free advertising, basically.
Basically, yeah. Which I will actually, very soon in the near future here, I will be doing a video of his items, because I have a couple of his shirts that are extremely comfortable, and I usually don't like being that person that's like, oh, it's my design on the shirt, but I'm actually very proud of it. So later on the channel, on the YouTube channel specifically, I'll be doing a short, 5-10 minute spot of, here's his items, here's his website, here's him, go see all the things.
I'm actually looking at the website right now.
Isn't it awesome?
And I'm in love with the beadwork.
He does all the beadwork by hand. I actually watch him on Instagram as well, same thing, Mr. Woo's Equipable Items. And I love seeing the progress he makes.
Okay, look at that nerd.
With his beadwork. And
beadwork takes time.
It does take time, and it takes patience, which he has more than I do.
I wish I had that kind of patience.
But if you guys have the chance, go check out the website, go check out his merch, keep an eye out, because we do have some new shirts coming out soon, and I'm always making new designs for him. So if you guys have some design ideas for characters or franchises that you like, shoot him or I a message, and
we'll see what we can do.
We will make it happen as best we can.
And on that note,
back to the series. I promised him that because he is one of our sponsors, I would give him a spot in each episode. I forgot to last episode. That's on me. Mm-hmm. Anyway, So we are very quickly coming up here in like the next 5-10 minutes on the viewer call-in section. Is there anything we wanted to touch base on before we get to that?
Not that I can think of. Other than the fact that there's a lot of arcs from the comics that I really wanted in the series, but the comics came out after the series. That's the only thing.
Not only that, but there was some of the arcs in the comics that you actually couldn't translate to a kids show.
No.
Like the Marvel Zombies thing, if that had come out during the same time as the series, they would have had to cut out so much material to make it appropriate for children.
X-Men was dark as hell. It was not something for kids, but they made it for kids, and I was like...
And it defined a generation.
To be fair, it explains a lot.
It really does. But that being said, the writers took an amazing series already, an amazing comic book series, which I have long since read, long after the fact. They took a comic series that was meant to tackle all these super dark subjects, and they made it understandable for children. They helped define a generation. A generation who won't stand down and be quiet. A generation who won't just stick to the status quo. A generation who wants change for the better.
But not in the worst ways.
Yeah, we're not, you know, we're a generation that we want equality, we want change, but we're not willing to kill or to hurt people to get that. Mm-mm. We want to live in a world where we can live and be ourselves, but
without taking drastic measures.
We're not following the Magneto timeline, basically. No. We're not doing the, you threw the first rock. You threw the first rock, so we're going to punch you for it. No, it's, listen, I understand this is how you feel about it. This is how we feel about it. Can we come to a common ground? Mm-hmm. And X-Men made that possible for our generation. But that being said, we're going to go ahead and move quickly on to our viewer call-in. I have to scroll a little bit.
Right there. There we go.
So if you have an opinion, we will be asking that you do it one at a time, please. Because it's going to be very difficult if multiple people are talking at once.
So...
I'm currently... I have to do a thing real quick. Alright. My audio is being a little funky. Give me one moment. I had this figured out and now it's being stupid. I'm sorry. Why is it being stupid? Sorry, I had this figured out and now it's acting up. Give me 2 seconds. I promise next time it won't be as complicated. Alright, you there?
It's cool.
Okay, there we go. Hey, you're on the air with Fandoms and Coffee. How's it going?
Maybe.
Hello?
It could also be our connection, love.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, there you are. How's it going?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, what do you want to share today?
Hang on. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you on the stream.
Hey. Okay, so basically, here's the thing. My thing is this. Hey, Laura.
We're here. We're listening for your question.
Okay. My thing is this. So with what you guys are saying, hang on. God damn it. All right. God damn it. Has there been anything that has caught you guys off guard with the with the mutants, particularly Rogue and and her relationship with the X-Men to Colossus, Beast, Negasonic, Teenage Warhead, DP, and so many other mutants that that has brought compassion or internal conflict based on based on what the character is feeling or anything like that. Based on their trials and tribulations, that sort of thing.
That is actually a very good question. With everything in the series, including the movies, with Deadpool, Colossus, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, I guess it just depends on which part of the franchise, because each franchise has I'm trying to think of how to phrase this.
It's staple, I guess.
It's moments that hit you. Each series has its own moment that causes that. Like with Deadpool, the first movie is literally about Deadpool going on this the entire journey of, well, I got fucked over, I need to save my girlfriend, but she can't know what I look like now, and I'm just gonna ghost her for a while, and by the way, here's my buddy Colossus, who's my moral compass that I'm gonna fucking ignore every chance I get. Like,
Actively.
mm-hmm. With, like, going with the X-Men movies, though, because you mentioned Rogue, and Rogue is one that both my wife and I feel very near and dear to because of a lot of the stuff that she's gone through in the animated series, the comics, and the movies. Like, in the animated series, she was very much the no-nonsense kind of role model that everybody needed. Whereas in the live-action movies, her relationship with Logan, she was this lost kid who was genuinely scared and was looking for help, and let's face it, Logan was not the greatest role model, but he taught her what he needed to.
He was the tough love big brother.
He really was. And like, there's so many moments we could go into depth on. There's like, we could actually write a mini novel about each and every how everything in the X-Men universe in general has had that super deep impact. But I don't know, if you had to pick one moment, hun, what would you pick?
I can't really think of one specifically. Could you not?
Sorry, the air conditioner's being stupid again. Ignore the screeching in the background. Our soundproofing is literally a quilt that we tacked to the ceiling. Okay, so in that case, if you can't pick a moment, what's a character that impacted you then?
Beast.
Beast.
For sure. Like, for a lot of the same reasons as you.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, Rogue, because throughout the series, she has her own internal conflicts that she doesn't really bring up with the others because she doesn't want to bring them into it.
What moment would I pick? What moment would I pick? I would actually pick the
Go ahead.
well for a character that has impacted me the most would have to be a tie between Logan and DP.
Care to elaborate? Because they're both awesome characters, but I'd love to know how they impacted you. Like, how would you say that Logan and Deadpool impacted you? If you don't feel like explaining, that's perfectly fine. I'm genuinely curious because I love both those characters, and I'd love to know how they helped you out or impacted you or influenced you, whatever it is that they did for you.
Well, basically, let me point this out. Let me point this out for you guys. DP is more of the sarcastic, fun-loving, quick-witted, type of guy who definitely loves Yuki and who definitely loves, Megasonic as sisters, and which they're an LGBTQ couple in and of itself, which I'm trying not to get into spoilers.
we're not a spoiler-free podcast. It's up in our rules and everything. If you don't want spoilers, don't listen, basically. So if you want to go in detail, you can. You don't have to, but like, I do love that you did bring up the LGBT couple part of that, because a lot of people tend to forget that that's actually a thing. We're gonna have to cut the stream here pretty soon. Mostly because we actually have some stuff we have to go do that's time sensitive today.
Unfortunately.
But is there anything else you wanted to bring up while you're on call with us?
And I know I'm gonna say this on air, but
Okay.
Uncle, if you're watching this, I love you, man. I love you, man.
Maybe, I don't know.
That is completely awesome.
Can't believe I said it on air. Holy crap.
Hey, sometimes you just need to get it out, trust me. And I hope your uncle is listening to this, and I hope he understands that you love him very much.
I'd say, bang.
Alright, well, thank you for joining us on our stream. We do have to get going because we have to take our kittens to the vet, and we lost track of time, and we don't want to lose our appointment. So, thank you guys for joining us. We hope to catch you next week. Hey, love.
Yeah?
What's the theme for next week?
The theme for next week is... Let me check. I genuinely have not... No. Oh, boy!
What's next week?
My Hero!
Alright, so...
Oh, boy!
Next week we're going to be talking My Hero Academia, a anime that has very quickly won the hearts of many, many weeaboos, including ourselves. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We're sorry to cut the stream short, but like I said, we have to get our cats to the vet, and...
Peace, love, and positivity. See you guys later.
Yep, have a wonderful time, and we'll see you next time.